back to Drink It In. I'm only with Sim today. Sadly, Frankie can't make it, but we've got a special guest for you today. He's played a lot of football. He's been around for a while. He's been around a lot of clubs, a lot of very good clubs. And, well, I've got Palace shirt on for a reason because, you know, he's been at Selhurst Park for a fair few years. Today, we're with Neil Dans. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me, guys.
That's all right. It's, hard times, innit? So it's really special with you joining us as well. How have you been doing? Has it been all right for you?
Yeah, it's been good, to be honest. Obviously, it hasn't been ideal with the football situation and stuff like that, but I think it's one of them times where it's unprecedented. No one's ever been through this before, do you know what I mean? So I think you just got to make the best of a bad situation, to be fair. And I always just try and look at the positives out of everything.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, I think there has been a lot of positives to come out of it. And sadly, you are very happy over something that's happened recently, and that is Liverpool winning the Premier League. How does that feel as a Liverpool fan?
Yeah, it's been amazing. You've probably seen I've been vocal on social media and stuff, and it's after all the years of waiting and having to listen to Man United supporters, Man City supporters, every sort of supporter I've had to listen to, and obviously there is banter within the dressing rooms. We all do have boyhood clubs, do you know what I mean? And I'm literally every year like it's our year, and this time for once it's actually our year. So yeah, I'm ecstatic and just buzzing for the city, really.
Neil, I'm buzzing
Oh,
for
yeah.
Liverpool as well, but I mean, Luke's a Palace fan, I'm a Spurs fan. I'm not quite behind the whole 30 years of hurt thing. Obviously, it means a lot to Liverpool. And the league title, it's been a long time coming, but hurt, I think there's a bit more hurt out there, personally.
No, definitely. Like I say, especially being a Tottenham fan, you'd probably know a lot more about that than me.
Yeah, I've got a complex as a Spurs fan because Spurs and Liverpool for years we were at the same level, and I think we went till about, I think it was last season was the first year you guys actually finished above us in like recent times, but like you've just gone complete different direction to us. So fair play, club's been wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously from the outside looking in, Spurs seems to be going through what happened to Liverpool. I think you've seen before Brendan Rodgers came in, there was just a little bit of transitional period, and then Brendan obviously came in, did really well. Obviously, we finished second in the league with him, and then we obviously brought in the King Klopp, do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, he's been able to take us to that next level. I think Tottenham is sort of just in that stick or twist zone at the minute. They just don't know what the direction they're going in, do you know what I mean? But it's a big club, and I think with your stadium and stuff now, I think there's only, if you get the right formula, and I'm not sure if Mourinho's the man for you, but only time will tell. He's obviously a legend and he's achieved what he's achieved, but I do think that the game's moved on since then, and I think there's a different style that seems to be benefiting clubs, and I don't think Mourinho has that style.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how even their season finishes now. It's a hard few games for them coming up, and you know, if they don't get that European spot, because there's so many teams going for it, it's going to be interesting. It must be fun as a Liverpool fan. Now you can kind of just enjoy the league. And what about City having to give Liverpool a guard of honour on their way out? How's that going to feel?
Do you know what? Fair play to them. Like, I am a football fan. Obviously, I get involved in the banter and the stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I appreciate good football. And Man City have been excellent. You know, no one can take that away from them. They've been brilliant, and they've represented the Premier League amazingly in terms of showing the other countries of how we can play. And I think Pep coming into England, really, he did change the game, similar to the way Arsene Wenger did when he first came in. And I think other clubs have benefited off that, and not just that, the fans, because the type of football that we're seeing now is unbelievable. I mean, you look at some of the players like David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, do you know what I mean? They're unbelievable players. So fair play to them. And like I say, it's only right just the way Liverpool did it for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, nice. It's been great to watch. And as a fan of a team lower down, it's just great to watch from above, and all this quality you get to see week in, week out from both them sides. But let's start with you then, because you started off at Blackburn, and well, under Graeme Souness as well. So how did that feel to be under a very respected man in the football world and also a Liverpool legend?
Well, to be honest, I actually did all my youth career at Liverpool from the age of 12 till I was 16. And in between that period, I got selected to go to Leicester at the time, which was obviously a place for, they said at the time, like the best 16 youngsters in your age group, and you had to go and live there for 2 years and do school and stuff there. So I had the likes of Jermaine Defoe, Leon Britton, Joe Cole.
Wow.
Yeah, there was quite a few of us, to be honest. And on leaving there, Liverpool offered me a scholarship to stay at Liverpool and stuff. But at the time, there was other players my age getting offered professional deals at Liverpool who were in the same team as me, but I was the only one who'd been selected to go to the England school. So I was just a bit disappointed that I wasn't getting sort of off the same. But I was really small, and they didn't know if I'd grow. Do you know what I mean? So that was the reasoning for it. But like you said, Blackburn came in, and Blackburn were actually flying higher than Liverpool at the time, and Graeme Souness, a Liverpool legend, was there. So I had the opportunity to go there, and I went there and obviously made my debut at 19 and played with some fantastic players, the likes of Dwight York, Andy Cole, David Dunn, Damien Duff, some real top pros there. And to make my debut in Europe for them under Graeme Souness was absolutely unbelievable, to be fair.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Yeah, you mentioned some of those players. I mean, Cole and York had won the Champions League together, hadn't they? And Brad Friedel was there, and two guy who is up there in my estimation as one of the most amazing technicians of a football I've ever seen. Some of his technique was unbelievable. But there was also another striker who was there, and it was Matt Jansen. He was really highly rated, I believe, and he's an ex-Palace man as well. But I think he was left in a coma, wasn't he, after a motorcycle accident in 2002? What was the mood around the club like at that time when this happened?
It was obviously a very bad situation. Matt had the world at his feet. He was tipped for really big things, and before that, he was shown the sort of form that sort of showed why he was held in such high regard. And he was such a talent. He used to remind me of Raul, who played for Real Madrid. The way he played, he just had this sort of movement and his balance and stuff like that. And obviously that happened. I think it was a moped accident that he had that put him in a coma, and obviously had to take a long time out the game because of brain injuries and stuff like that. And that, I think, even now you look in modern day with all the scientific evidence that's come out in terms of concussion from the NFL, from even they've stopped kids doing heading practice now in within football and stuff until you're a certain age. At the time, that evidence wasn't even out, but you knew that it was going to be tough, because when someone's put in a coma, it's one thing being knocked out, but to be actually put in a coma, it's going to have lasting effects. And as we all know, the brain's such a powerful thing that it only has to affect a certain little bit of it, and it can throw everything off. So, it was gutted, and like you say, it was a shame that we never got to see what he could have and maybe would have became. But I suppose that's life, and it was very unfortunate. But people still remember how good of a player he was.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like you mentioned, like kind of the way his game might have changed, and like possibly the science wasn't there. And I mean, just heading the ball as a striker, it's just, I mean, it's who knows what was kind of like going through his head whenever he did that, and just the fear. It's a really unfortunate thing, and it's really sad. Really sad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then, well, after Blackburn, you had like a little loan period as well, and then after that, it didn't really work out. Was it just struggling to get into the side, or was there other reasons really to
it? Well, at the time, obviously I was only 19 at the time, and like I said, I think we finished fourth in the Premier League. So for any young player, it's a real Sorry, man, I was waiting to. You got the sneeze on, and I've been wanting to sneeze for ages. Like I said, as a 19-year-old, it's always tough when you're in a top four side, and obviously in them days, as we know now, football wasn't watched as nowhere near as much as it was, because I remember I look at football now, and every single game's on TV, literally every European game, everything. And all it takes is one good game to literally to get you another start, or to get you a move, or to think. I remember my debut. I'd never been involved in the squad, and then I got told on the Wednesday that I was going to be involved in the squad because I was captain of the reserves. And then on the day of the game, Dean Saunders was the assistant manager at the time. He told me that I was going to be starting, and I was just like, whoa, I've never even been in the squad, do you know what I mean? And I'm starting in Europe.
Crazy.
So we played in that game, and I got man of the match, and everyone was like really buzzing with me and stuff. And when I look back now, I think if that would have happened in this day and age, a 19-year-old come and played on Sky Sports, got man of the match in Europe, you know what had happened. He'd build you up, and you get chance after chance. But obviously, like, that was my debut, and no one ever seen it. Do you know what I mean? Because it wasn't even on. It wasn't on TV. Do you know what I mean? It's only the fans and stuff. But that's all. It's all hindsight, like I said. And obviously, I came on the next game in the Premier League against Leeds. That was when they had Robbie Fowler, Rio Ferdinand, Harry Kewell. They had an amazing team. So I came on in that game, and then I was always in the squads and around it and stuff like that. And then I actually got a stress fracture in my back, so it kept me out for 4 months. And then obviously coming back, I got offered the chance to go on loan to Blackburn, where I went there and had a really good time. And I thought, yes, I can go back now and maybe get more chances and stuff. But it was the same. The team was flying. I was a 19-year-old. You don't expect to just get put in the Premier League and be starting every week. Do you know what I mean? So I went out. So I ended up going out on loan again, and obviously I went to Colchester. While I was there on loan at Colchester, Graeme Souness left, and he went to Newcastle, and Mark Hughes came in. So then I went back like a month later after Mark Hughes had been appointed. And when I went in, obviously they didn't know who I was, because I was a young lad who'd been out on loan, came back, and they were bringing Robbie Savage in at the time. And they basically just said to me, look, we're bringing in another midfielder, Robbie Savage. You've done really well at Colchester. They want to sign you. We've accepted the offer. So at that time, I just thought, well, I don't really know this manager. I'm not one to start like sitting around and thinking I want to play football. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to take 2 steps back, and I was confident in myself enough to think that I could start to work my way back up.
Yeah, managerial changes do seem to be. Sorry, did you have something to say, Luke?
No, I was just a Korean man. Sorry. Yeah,
I was just saying. Managerial changes does seem to be a big theme in a lot of players' careers, and obviously it can just a simple change of like a regime will make all the difference sometimes. And I think the same thing, am I right, happened at Birmingham? Because I think if we kind of skip to your time at Birmingham, I think you spent a bit of time at Colchester, didn't you? And I think possibly that's where you kind of found yourself as a player. But you went to Birmingham, who had just been relegated in 2006, and you helped them get back to the Premier League at the first time of asking in 06-07 season under Steve Bruce. Why do you think it was that he possibly didn't quite give you a fair crack in the Premier League when you got there?
Do you know what? It's hard to say, because, like I say, I'd made 38 appearances all in all. Obviously, coming off the bench and starting, in getting, I think I scored 3 or 4 goals as well in the season, getting promoted to the Premier League, and I was still only 23, I think, or 24 at the time. So obviously, you're involved in actual being on the pitch 38 times. You think you're going to get at least a little bit of a chance. You're still young, you know what I mean? You like literally and stuff. But in the summer that we did go up, he brought in a lot of players. Do you know what I mean? Like, so many players, and I think, especially at that time, that was sort of the thought that if you went up, then you had to go and buy loads of players and sort of replace the players that got you up there. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, I was one of the people that was involved in it, and I never really got given. I didn't get given any chance. I think I made one appearance or 2 appearances for them once we got promoted after making 38 appearances the year before. So I just look back and I think every manager is different. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what he sees. He might not have thought that I was up to it. He might not have, for whatever reasons. But I'm one of them people that I don't get bitter about that stuff. It is what it is. I'm sure if I go into management, there'll be some players that I might not think can do this or do that. But you live by your own decisions. And do you know what I mean? Like I said, I never look back on any of that and think, oh, he didn't give me a chance. I just think, well, that was his opinion at the time and there's nothing wrong with that.
But did you think something might have changed when Alex McLeish came in?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I hadn't been involved in the squads. So a new manager comes in straight away, obviously checks the stats, sees who's been playing, who hasn't been playing. And I think it was within like a month or so of him coming in that I had the opportunity to obviously then join Palace, and Nottingham Forest were in for me at the same time as Palace. But no, like I said, the way I look at things now, I never have any regrets, or I never try and say to myself, what if, because at the end of the day, what happened, and that's just the way it is. And I'm thankful for everything that's happened to me. There's nothing that I can really complain about. So yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah, that's really it's really good the way you're thinking about it as well. Like, it's good to have that mindset, in my opinion. And like, well, we've had a couple of episodes where West Ham board, they've come up quite a bit, and you know, Karen Brady, David Sullivan, David Gold, there's a big rift between the fans and the board, I guess it's safe to say. And obviously they were at Birmingham at the time when you were there. Did you have much, was there a lot of connection between you and them, I guess?
Not really. There was, in terms of transfers and Karen Brady and stuff like that, and I did have me running with Karen Brady, simply because obviously you get loyalty bonuses and stuff like that when you sign for a club, and obviously Crystal Palace came in for me and I was owed a loyalty bonus, and she basically said, well, if you don't like waiver your loyalty bonus, we're not letting you go to Crystal Palace. And I was sort of thinking like, well, you want me to go to Crystal Palace? I mean, you have obviously like sorted all this out, and they were just back and forth, and I was like, but I've been loyal, I've been promoted to the Premier League, I've done everything that it says in my contract. I just want to play football. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've done everything, and she's like, well, then you're just going to sit here and do nothing then. So in the end, I just said, you know what? Just leave it. I'll just go to Crystal Palace. I want to play football. I want to play for Crystal Palace, and I waived quite a lot of money to go and do that. But for me, it was always, during my career, it was always about football and wanting to play football. And obviously, you get contracts and that are good for you and stuff. But the very forefront, I think you'll see throughout all my career, probably why I've had so many clubs, is that when I'm not playing football, then I'd rather just go out and play football, because that's what I wanted to do as a kid. I didn't just want to sign for clubs and sit in the background and accept money. I wanted to just play football. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And well, just on the board and that, do you think like the board at West Ham could be doing a bit better? Do you think they're too business based? I guess with the way with your money as well there, I think it sounds a bit like that.
Yeah, definitely. But at the end of the day, the business based, but they're also smart people, and do you know what I mean? It might not seem smart to us as football fans and stuff, but they're smart in their personal way. So everything, they'll sometimes make out that things are for the club and for the fans, but they know what they're doing. They're business people, and that's one thing that you can't forget. And some business people are good, and some people ain't so good. Like our people at Tranmere now, they're successful business people, but they run the club really well. They get involved in the community. They help homeless charities. So they get the best of both worlds. And I feel that you can, within the Premiership now, especially because of all the money and that's involved, some people can probably get sometimes just a little bit too greedy, and it can backfire. Do you know what I mean? But everything gets found out in the end, I think, and what will be at West Ham will be.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to go down this season, or do you think they'll brave the drop?
I think they'll go down myself. I didn't think so, and I think they've got some really good players there. But after watching the last few performances, I just there's no real like spark there for me. I like the midfielder. What's his name? With the afro.
Anderson.
Anderson. Yeah, I like him. I think he could do well at maybe a different club. But I think David Moyes has obviously got a tough job. It hasn't been great for a long time, as if we're being honest, at West Ham. I mean, I've never known so many players want to actually leave a club that's got that from the outside looks like it's going in the right direction. It's in the capital. They've got a big stadium, but then players are wanting to leave. And I think when Payet left, that just proved a lot of things, because he didn't leave to go to a huge club. He just left to go back to France. And I think if everything was being done properly at West Ham with all the stuff that they do have, then you'd like to think that players would want to stay there.
Yeah. Just going back to your time at Palace, Neil, obviously we know already that Luke's a Palace fan. He's been going since he was a very young boy. And my story has a lot to do with Palace as well, because I was actually a season ticket holder. We're South London boys, so Palace are my local club. I was a season ticket holder from 2007 to 2016. I used to go with my granddad. And I don't want to make this too emotional, but he was kind of like in the middle part of that period. He was kind of in the early stages of Parkinson's and dementia. And he used to repeat to me every single game, he's a good player, Neil Dance. He's a good player, Neil Dance. I don't think he knew what he was doing. I really don't think he knew that he was repeating it every game. But
amazing.
A guy who had been going to sell us for 30, 40 years, season ticket holder most of that time, up in the Homestay Upper. And just the fact that he probably didn't know he was saying it every single time, but like without fail, he would say he's a good player, Neil Dan. So I think it just goes to show that you were definitely a fan favourite down at Palace, and I'm sure Luke has more to say on your time there.
Yeah, do you know what? Even just talking about that, like, it gives me goosebumps. Do you know what I mean? Because when you're in the game and that, sometimes you don't understand sort of the effect that you can have on people. And like you said, even if it was just for a positive thought in your granddad's mind, you know what I mean, through such a tough time, it's amazing. And like stories like that for me are take away from football. It's just as a person and in life, when you can see that you can have them sort of positive effects on people, it's amazing. So thanks for that story.
No problem. Pleasure.
Yes, well, same. Just watching you on the pitch was so great at such a young age. Like, I remember, like, you, obviously Darren Ambrose up there as well, and it's been like an amazing little start for me that really got me into football. But I guess Sim will let you lead about a great game for Palace that you kind of missed. I guess it was unluckily, but
you're suspended. I think you were suspended, weren't you, in 2010 when all the administration problems were going on? I remember it was a really weird time because it was sort of like you didn't know what was going to happen, even if the club did go down. And I suppose we'll start with that. Like, how bleak was the picture at that point, and what could have happened, do you think, if Palace had gone down in that game against Wednesday?
Well, to be honest, even just before that period, it was as bleak as, like I said, it was on the point that, as the same as the scenario I went through last season, being with Berry, and we all know what happened. The club no longer exists, and Palace were, in reality, in a position not far from that at the time. I remember all the fans going down into central London, and obviously before the administration and everything, and I think it was hours away from being literally liquidated, the club. Obviously along came in Steve Parish, who I've got so much respect for, and I think he's done a fantastic job. The club seems in a really good place. What I like about him is what a lot of clubs do, and get above the stations and start spending out on crazy stuff, and that could literally put the club at risk. He's doing it in a way, and sometimes it might not always resonate with the fans because they want to see the best players, but they come at a cost, and that cost could in the end be the living of your club. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've got a lot of respect for them. But to answer your question, yeah, at that time it was weird for me as a player and just the whole scenario, because that was the first time in my career at that point that I'd been through anything like that. So it was all new to me. I remember we wasn't getting paid for literally months. The PFA were asking to help us out and stuff like that. And I just remember thinking, like, I didn't realise that this actually happened in football, because as a youngster growing up, we never got to see all the stuff that's happening with players not being paid. And now that I see it happening a lot in lower leagues these days, and I really do feel for it, because especially the players, because I went through it last season where we wasn't played. We weren't literally paid for 7 months, and we ended up getting promoted, and we still hadn't been paid during that. And there was literally players coming in that couldn't afford to put petrol in the car, because of, at that level, they're not blessed with of having like long careers. Like, say, fortunately, I was blessed enough that I've done well enough in my career to be able to look out for myself and stuff, but not everyone is. And to see the effect it had on people, and it wasn't just the players, all the staff around the club weren't getting paid. So the kit lady, and we literally seeing people crying, literally coming into meetings crying in front of us, and trying to keep it together and get promoted at the same time. It was just, well, it was honestly devastating. And I remember just looking and thinking, I'm helpless here, like, because I can see this effect it's having on so many people. Yeah. And I'm talking about away from football, they can't pay their mortgages. One of my ex-teammates had to sell his house because he had no money to pay the mortgage, because he hadn't been paid for 7 months. And to witness that now, when I see other clubs in that situation, I never used to pay much attention to it because it was just another football story. But being in that and seeing what it does, I always look in deeper now, and I'm really, and if I can send a message to the players and stuff like that, then I would, because I know there is really dark times there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was enough. Well, I can imagine, especially at Bury, it has been a hard time. Just we'll bring it back to some slightly positive stuff at Palace. With I think you're in the game where Danny Butterfield scored a hat trick in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
What was the like after the game? Like, how was the dressing room? Was it just disbelief, I guess?
yeah. To be honest, I can't remember too much about the game. Who was the game against? Was it
Wolves?
Wolves, that was it. Yeah. I just remember he ended up front somehow. I don't even know how that happened. Never mind him scoring a hat trick. Do you know what I mean? And was it the perfect hat trick, like a right foot, left foot?
It was.
Header?
Yeah.
It was. And I just remember thinking after the game, I was thinking, is he going to start up front next game? I was actually thinking, like, is this him now? Like, because anyone who scores a hat trick, like, you know what they say when strikers are in form, you don't change them. Do you know what I mean? So no, it was a weird one, but one that I can honestly say did come completely out of the blue. Because if it would have been like someone like you put like a Victor Moses from the wing, then you could half expect it. But I'd never seen nothing in Danny Butterfield that, in terms of skills and striking, that said to me he was going to score a hat-trick in a game. But fair play to him, he's done something I've never done. I've never scored a hat-trick. Fair play to him.
He scored 6 goals for Palace in, what was it, between 5 and 10 years probably, and 3 of them were in one game. It's just, you can't write
Crazy.
it. You can't write
exactly.
So good. And well, just where luck he got put up front that night, you know, maybe it could have been whoever, but it was great to see, and it goes down like in Palace history, that just for the sheer disbelief, as I said. And yeah, well, at Palace, I guess Wilf was kind of more in the academy, obviously just coming out, was he?
He was in the squad with us. He played quite a few games with us. The final year that I was there, he'd started obviously coming training with the first team and getting his games here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah, how was that? And I guess a lot of people, when they say in training, he's so hard to come up against. Was that for you? Like, did he already have that trickery at that young age and difficulty to, I guess, train against, really?
Yeah, 100%. I think with Wilf, he wasn't the finished article straight away. You could see that there was a lot of parts of his game that he did need to work on. But when you've got a player that wants to work on them sort of stuff and wants to improve and makes it his business to practice every day, to listen, to do all that stuff that's needed to be a top player, then Wilf had that. And he was unique because I've played with skillful players before, but his is so different. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you think he hasn't got the ball, but he knows exactly what he's doing. And I used to say it about like when you used to watch Luis Suarez, and it used to sometimes look like he was running through people, like he'd met people, and you were thinking that's lucky. But then it happened every time, like, and it's like you start to realise that it's not luck. That it's just the way they've done that all their life, and they know exactly what they're doing. And I see that with Wolf, that he's just he's a unique player, and the way he does his stuff is unique. I don't think if we look within the game, there's not one player that I could name that you could actually say, oh, he moves like Wilf, or do you know what I mean? He's actually so unique in what he does. And you could see that from when he was young. And like I say, he was a great lad when he come up. That's one of the good things, and one of the things I would say to young players is all the young players, the top young players that I've seen come through, they've all got a certain mindset, and they've all got a humbleness to know that they're not the finished article, and he's still so much hard work. And I've seen it with Victor Moses, Nathaniel Klein, Wolf Zaha, Scannell. They were all good young talents, but they also had the drive to want to take it to the next level.
Yeah. Do you obviously it's quite hard now. He is 27 now. I think he does deserve a chance at a team a bit higher than Palace, maybe going for a European spot or something. Can you see him moving somewhere now, or would it be maybe abroad?
Do you know what? It's a tough one. Like I say, I know how much he means to the Palace fans, and I totally understand. So when I say like this, I don't mean it in any disrespect to Crystal Palace whatsoever. But I think we all know as football fans, players do have ambitions, and that's not to say that Palace can't win anything. But if we're being realistic, I think Wolf does deserve a chance to go grace the upper echelons of the game, and he could easily be a top 4 player. Do you know what I mean? Or like I said, even if he went abroad and he could be playing Champions League football. Do you know what I mean? And just giving them that platform to really showcase all the hard work that he has put in. And I think he's been an amazing servant to Palace. I think that's the main thing. So if Wilf was to leave, I'd like to hope and think that he'd go with the Palace faithful's blessings, because they would get a lot of money for him also.
Yeah, I think definitely. Well, personally, for me, there'd be no harm with me wanting him to leave. I thought he was going to leave actually in the summer over Bissaka. Personally, I was quite shocked to that. But yeah, I just think now it's going to be hard for him to get that move in the Prem. I think a lot of them teams up top have kind of signed players who are young in his position. Arsenal with Pepe, Chelsea with Pulisic as well. So it's going to be interesting. But I saw him linked to PSG, which I'd personally love to see.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say then. The same thing as you. I actually think it would be perfect for him to go to someone like PSG, because I think he could then... Because I think if he stayed in England and went to a top four club, I think you know what the media can be like sometimes. They'd be just waiting for him to fall. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like, oh, you've cried for the move and you want, like, what are you doing? Whereas I think if he went to somewhere like PSG, I think it suits his style of play, and I think he'd be able to just get away from everything and just go do his thing and enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? And without the pressures of, we all know how much Premier League pressure there is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he's spoken about himself.
Yeah, it's been such a long saga with Zaha, and I think it could have happened 3 years ago. It could have happened last year, and I think you're right. I think that pressure does build up as he kind of the longer he stays at Palace. And yeah, you're possibly right that going abroad might suit him. But then at the same time, I think it's quite a similar one to, I think, Riyad Mahrez the other year or a couple of years ago when he went from Leicester to City. And I think it almost felt like, I think he had a bit of an average season one of the years in between, and it kind of felt like maybe his time had gone. But I think it would really be interesting to see how he did respond to that move. So I think we'll definitely see that, certainly.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, it'll be so interesting. Won't talk any more on it, but that Moyes with his daughter and all that rumor that definitely wasn't true with Zaha and United, like that just sums it up, doesn't it? Really, how he was so young there, and just to get these rumors already weighted on him at that club, it's just not really fair. To be fair.
Exactly. Well, I think that's one of the big things within football in this country, is that there's just so much attention, and it's sort of the media chooses who it wants to turn on, who it wants to build up, and you're only a bad performance away from everyone turning on you. And half the time, the fans haven't even turned on you, but the media can like switch it to where people automatically just start thinking that you've done something wrong, or your attitude's not good, and it's got nothing to do with that. But like you say, even if it did happen, I think Wolf's big enough to deal with that pressure. Do you know what I mean? And he's performed for however many years now. That's why he's got this sort of attention on him. So I'm sure he'd take it in his stride, no matter what he chooses.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, back to you as well, because after Palace at Leicester, you were with Sven-Goran Eriksson. Sorry, I always struggle with that name.
Yeah.
Obviously, former England manager. How did that feel to work under him?
Yeah, it was good, to be fair. If I'm being deadly honest, I've probably worked under better managers. Do you know what I mean? That's no disrespect to him whatsoever. That's just realistic. But just being a part of obviously what was getting built at the time. I think I went there, and I think we brought like 15 players in once in the summer that I signed, and obviously all big names within the Championship and players that I'd played at high levels and stuff. So it was exciting, and I think you look at it now. That was the season that obviously Leicester started really building for what's happening right now, and just to be a part of that. When I look back now and say, well, I was actually part of the building blocks of that. What is going on right now, and to actually captain the side for half of a season during that time, and I'd score goals and stuff like that. I look back with fond memories. Obviously, when the second, I think I'd made about, I don't even know how many appearances in the first season that I signed. But then obviously Sven got sacked and Nigel Pearson come in. And then for the remainder of the season, I think Nigel Pearson brought me in the squad, and then I somehow ended up being captain for like the last 10 or 15 games or something. And then it was a weird one. We went back, and I never started a game. So we literally finished the season off as captains, scored 6 goals, and then never ever started a game again. I was just like,
there's such a theme with just the regime at the top of a football club that I'm already seeing. Yeah. Like your time, after you left Birmingham, we're clearly on this podcast not the biggest fans of the owners at West Ham who were at Birmingham, and they kind of like they yo-yoed a little bit after you left, and possibly it wasn't stable, and I think they had a really kind of dodgy owner that came in after. And you mentioned Steve Harris as well, who's come into Palace, and he's kind of built them up to be a sustainable Premier League side, and the same's happened at Leicester. So it just goes to show how important it is to have a plan from the boardroom down. And then, the fact that you mentioned that you were directly involved in the Leicester thing, there's so many players, yourself included, who are part of that story, and it's just incredible how just how many people kind of can contribute to a long-term thing, and
definitely
happiness that title would have given the people of Leicester and their fans.
Yeah, definitely, and that's one of the things. Like that's probably one of the biggest things when I look back at my career, is that to be a part of, like I say, going to Birmingham and obviously making 38 appearances in that obviously promotion, and then also not even necessarily just promotion. It's like being a part of the Palace situation where we had to fight till the last game of the season to stay up. Like, who knows what would have happened if Palace would have went down that season? Do you know what I mean? So to have contributed to that, I think I scored 9 goals that season. And I look back and I always think to myself, well, you did contribute. You literally you played a part in that, as did every other player, and that's been involved and stuff like that. But just to look back and know that whether it be a big part, small part, you've played a part in football and history, and you see, like I say, when I see Palace are one of me top, probably the best club in terms of fans and stuff like that I've got on with, that I hold dear to my heart. So when I see like Palace now doing really well, I look back and I see the likes of Wolf. Do you know what I mean? And I think I was there when he came through. Like it's a pleasure for me to see how well he's doing, and do you know what I mean? And to see how well the club's doing. So, and even people like Dougie Friedman, I've got a lot of time for. Do you know what I mean? I played under him. Then he signed me at Bolton and stuff like that. And I look back, and Dougie Friedman's he was a big part of my career, and I've got so much time for him, not just as a footballer and in the football world, but as a man. I love his morals. I love the way he was. And knowing him when I did know him, I still respected him so much, but I probably didn't respect it as much as I do now, being even older and just seeing the way he conducts himself. And it's always good to just look back and feel that I've played a little small part.
Football journey, yeah. And on Leicester again, obviously a couple of years ago, such a sad event with, I can't really do his name justice in terms of pronunciation, but Vichai, Mr. Vichai, the owner who sadly died in that helicopter accident. Did you have any dealings with him, and what do you remember about him?
Like I said, when I first signed, the owners would, before the season started, we'd all go on the pitch, and in their culture, they'd have like a sort of a big food sort of gathering, and that's how they blessed, like the pitches and stuff like that. And that was from their culture. Obviously, I don't want to disrespect what it was called, because I don't know what the actual thing that we did was called, but I knew what it was about. It was basically appreciation and getting blessings, and that they sacrificed food and stuff, and stuff like that. And that was the way their family was, very spiritual, very, very humble people. Probably looking back on my career, it's like I knew that Leicester was going to be successful, because you could just see the way the owners were, that everything was just done properly and shrewd and with humility, and you just knew that it was gonna take off. And obviously, when I heard of that tragic news, I was shocked and deeply saddened, like everyone else. And it's so tragic, do you know what I mean? Because he's actually, like, the way that club's going now, and it's such a shame that he's not here physically to be able to see it, but his legacy lives on, do you know what I mean? And I'm sure the Leicester fans and everyone else is the same, that he's a true legend of that football club. And big shout out to all his family and everyone, because they are a really good family, and people that they were really involved in the club. So you get some owners that stay away and stuff like that. They were really involved. We got to speak to them. They'd come into the dressing room smiling all the time, and that sort of give a positive vibe just around the whole place.
Yeah, and well, you said about them, you could kind of tell they were going to be successful. Is that like you could tell they were going to be Premier League winners? Was there like a vibe that they could go for that? Or
I don't think anyone could have predicted that. but that's the nature of the beautiful game, innit? That was a season that was crazy, to be honest with you. And I look back and I think they won the Premier League, and 2 years before I'd been at that club, do you know what I mean? And it was like a lot of my friends were winning that Premier League. So obviously I was there with Jamie Vardy, Wes Morgan, Andy King, Knockout. Like, most of the squad wasn't that much changed, you know what I mean? And to see them doing that was just so surreal, and it was amazing, because I know, like, when I'd been with them guys, and if you would have said to them, "Oh, you're going to win the Premier League," like, they would have just laughed at you, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
and to see what they've all gone on and achieved is unbelievable. And I'm one of them people. I love seeing them stories. Do you know what I mean? Especially when it's people that you know, and you know the situations and what they've been through and stuff like that. To see it all turn out well, it's amazing.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy, 31 goals in 36 games in the conference for Fleetwood. When he turned up at the Leicester training ground, did he think he'd arrived? What was his like mentality? Was he humble? Was he? Oh, he's obviously a confident lad, but how did he kind of like introduce himself to the boys?
The one thing I'll say about him is he could never change if he wanted to, because he's from a working class family, just like myself, just like a lot of footballers. We're all from humble beginnings, do you know what I mean? And when he came in, he was no different to that. He was just a lad from Sheffield, do you know what I mean? And me and him clicked instantly. Obviously, I was a Scouser and he's from Sheffield, and we were living round the corner from each other and stuff. So me and him became really, really close. And like I said, I got to know his friends, he got to know my friends and stuff like that. And he couldn't change if he wants to, because he is who he is. And do you know what I mean? And sometimes that's what within football, sometimes people don't get to see like the real characters, and they paint pictures and stuff like that. But Jamie Vardy, he's just a funny guy, like cheeky with it. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely,
and, And I couldn't wish it on a better person for the success that he's having. But he's another one. The second I trained with him, the first day, I instantly knew he was a top player, because I'd played with so many players. Like, say, I'd had the privilege of playing with the Andy Coles, all these sorts of players. And it's weird when a top player comes to play with you, I sort of just see instantly what it is, because I can't put my finger on it, but it's like there's just something different about him. And I remember the first day thinking, how is this guy being in the conference? Like it makes no sense to me. He's in his 20s and he's only just making this move now. But obviously it was a big move, because he was the first ever £1 million player to come from the conference. So I wasn't the only one that thought the same about him.
Yeah, no, definitely. And well, it's when he came to Palace earlier this season. Don't know why we did it, but fans were taking the mick out of him and Rebecca Vardy after all that news was happening. And he scores against us and does the Eagles celebration. It sums it up, doesn't it? Like, I think that sums him up perfectly. And every team would love to have him. It's one of them players, isn't it? He's a proper gets in the heads of the defenders and the fans. And 9 times out of 10, he's gonna come out the winner, really, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Continue. Now.
No, go on.
I was just gonna say another. I mean, clearly you played with a lot of quality strikers. Cole York, Vardy. Another one I'm really interested in. I love him as a player, and he's obviously his success as a player goes back a long way. As Kevin Phillips, I think you played with him at Birmingham, did you?
No, he actually came. No, he came this season after I'd left. He came. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, but there has been others as well, like you mentioned there. But like, big shout out to people like Ida Good-Johnson, Emil Heskey. Do you know what I mean? Like, more absolute legends. Like, obviously, and being a Liverpool fan, Emil Heskey's like a massive player, and his partnership with Michael Owen was like phenomenal. And then obviously spending time at Bolton with Ida Good-Johnson and getting to listen to his stories about Ronaldinho and Messi. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. It's stuff that I used to remember after training. That I used to sit in the change room and like just listen to him. Do you know what I mean? And because Ronaldinho is my favourite player of all time. So to actually hear it from someone who's good friends with Ronaldinho, do you know what I mean? And he'd tell me what he was like in training, like how good he was and stuff like that. It's just been a blessing to obviously meet these people and obviously be able to speak to them about things like that.
Yeah, and well, we'll move on now, and we'll go into Huddersfield a bit, because you had a little loan period there, but I've seen it's better to say this. You recall this moment better that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally sure if you'll kind of recall it, but I think Huddersfield, it was quite like an intense relegation battle that you were involved in towards the end of that season, where I think there were a lot of teams in and around. I remember Peterborough eventually went down, and I think you played Barnsley on the final day of the season. Were you involved in that game?
No, I wasn't involved in the last 4 or 5 games because dislocated my big toe and literally couldn't walk. So I missed the last like 5 games of the season and stuff. Obviously, I'd been involved in the games up to that, but I know what you're talking about when we found out the result from the other game and everyone just stopped playing.
It was really bizarre, wasn't it? And then there was like a pitch invasion after.
It was crazy because obviously I was in the stands and that watching it, and then I remember the final whistle going down to the changing room, and Barnsley's manager, who was David Flickroft at the time, was in our dressing room and celebrating with us. Do you know what I mean? Because both of us had stayed up and that sort of thing, and it was crazy. But it's one of them things that can only happen in football. Do you know what I mean? That the rival managers in your dressing room celebrating, staying up at the same time you used to staying up. Crazy.
That's nuts, man. And when at Bolton as well, there was a game you played against Liverpool. I wasn't sure if it's the only time you played against them, but you got sent off in this game. That's what I'm talking about. That one on purpose, was it? You know, you weren't trying to help out the opposition, yeah?
No. Like I say, I've been fortunate enough to play against Liverpool quite a few times now, and that one was gutting because we played them at Anfield in the first game, and we drew 1-1 at Anfield with them. We played really, really well. Brought them back to our ground, and then we were 1-0 up against them for a long period of time. And then obviously I got a yellow card in the first half for a tackle on Joe Allen, and then the second tackle wasn't even a tackle, I slipped sort of thing, and I've slipped into him, and then literally the refs just pulled it out, and I was just like, and then I think they equalised in like the 80th minute, and then Coutinho scored the winner in I think it was just before, I can't remember.
Yeah, just
I remember
like 90,
just thinking, I was
90.
I was so gutted because obviously being a Liverpool fan, and obviously they had like Henderson, Coutinho, Gerrard in the middle, do you know what I mean? And to get like a 1-1 draw at Anfield was unbelievable, and all my family being there, do you know what I mean? And then to bring them to our place and playing against them again, and then to be beating them 1-0, do you know what I mean? And thinking, yeah, we've got them. And then for that to happen, I remember the manager fined me quite a lot for that. And do you know what? Neil Lennon was at the time. And the thing is, he was not even in the contract about you can fine a player for that, but I accepted it for some reason. That was, and I look back now and think, why did I let that happen? Do you know what I mean?
He slipped as well.
Luke and I are kind of like trainee journalists, and so is Frankie, the other guy who would normally be on the podcast. And I just kind of wonder, from that FA Cup tie, obviously people would have been aware that you're a Liverpool lad, and going back to Anfield, I'm not sure if the game was televised, but I seem to remember watching it on TV. Was there kind of the way the media sort of operates? Were you kind of inundated with requests to kind of do like a pre-match kind of like package, like talking about your background with Liverpool and possibly being in the academy? Did the media pick up on that story at the time?
A lot of times that I have figured against Liverpool, they do tend to ask for me, or I'll get quite a few like media sorts of stuff to do because of that. And obviously because my son plays at Liverpool now, do you know what I mean? He's been there for 6 years now as well. He's 14. So they always connect, obviously, the academy sorts of stuff and my son being there, and they always seem to connect that sort of stuff. So it was something that happened. But like I say, I'm at Liverpool Academy 3 or 4 times a week, every week anyway, you know, with my son, and because I obviously came through the system, I still know a lot of people there, and I'm actually going to start coaching there from September as well, part-time. Do you know what I mean? To start obviously dipping my feet into the coaching and stuff, and they've been brilliant. They've asked me to come in and get involved and stuff like that. So I'm lucky enough that I can do that while I'm still playing, and obviously gain some experience. So Liverpool Football Club is obviously being a massive part of my life, not only from me just supporting them, but obviously growing up through the academy, my son going through the same sort of process. So it's something that I'm thankful to be involved with, really.
That's really good. And yeah, just on Bolton briefly, obviously now they're in like a relegated to League Two. How, I guess, from a former player, sorry, how does that feel?
It's good. It's really gutting to see because ever since I was there, since the old chairman Phil Gardside passed away, it's sort of been getting beaten from pillar to post. The club, since, like I said, since I left there, it's just been. Then Ken Anderson took over, and for me, I don't know how people like that can sleep at night, like people like Ken Anderson, because even when he first came in, I was in my last year of my contract, and they actually offered me a new deal to sign again. But we'd had meetings and stuff with the chairman and the owners as players and stuff, and I just, if I'm being honest, I just didn't like them. I got a bad vibe from them, and it's easy to just say that, like, oh, yeah, but you could have signed there and stuff like that. But I ended up signing for Bury on the exact same money. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of people was like, why did you do that when you could have just stayed at Bolton? It's a bigger club and stuff like that. Because I'm a big believer in just vibes and sort of what you get from people and that. And I'd had meetings and seen the way the club was thinking, and it just didn't surprise me. The way the club is now after their tenure there just doesn't surprise me. And then seeing the same thing happen at Bury with Steve Dale, he was the same, another person that was just, I look back and I think, how can these people get in the game? Because they're disgusting. They're literally something so that means so much to people and really does affect people's lives. These people just come in and try and pillage the game, and do you know what I mean? And they don't care what mess they leave behind. And it really does affect families. Like I said, not to harp on about it again, but after that Bury situation and liquidation, I had people literally, I went down to the Bury after everything had been announced and spoke with the fans, and people were crying there. There was kids crying, there was families, there was literally granddads that had been taking their sons and grandsons for literally 50, 60 years. Do you know what I mean? And then someone comes in and just ends all of that. Do you know what I mean? And the memories, and denies the future generations of that opportunity to spend quality time with the families and feel part of something that you guys will know. There's no better feeling than feeling a part of your team. Do you know what I mean? When you win and you lose together and you chant and you're all together, it brings so many people. And then these people come in and just destroy things like that, and it's just really sad to see.
In spite of all that and all the murmurings that were going on, I'm struggling to keep track of where we are with the seasons, but it was last season that you got promoted with Bury, even though it seems a lot longer ago than that. There were murmurings of like very bad times to come in terms of the finances and things, but you still managed to finish second and get promoted. But kind of like how did you sort of celebrate that at the time, knowing that, you know, it was so unstable? Was it difficult to celebrate, or did you just live in the moment?
No, it was, well, to be honest, we did have planned at the beginning of the season that if we obviously got promoted, then we were all going to go, you know, on a lads' holiday together and celebrate and stuff like that. But the truthful matter is, none of the lads could afford it because they hadn't been paid for 7 months. Do you know what I mean? And that was the reality of it. That in the end, we ended up working with the EFL to get some of our money that was owed back and stuff, but we didn't get that back for 8 or 9 months later. So there was people that were literally living on loans. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, not all the players at that level have been fortunate enough to play at a higher level and have savings and stuff like that. A lot of the players live month to month, just like a lot of people do. Do you know what I mean? And so we get promoted, but it couldn't be the same. Do you know what I mean? And it was just really disappointing. But what I'll never let that situation do is take away from the togetherness and the team spirit that we had to sort of get involved in together, because there's no chance in them circumstances that if you've got no team spirit or togetherness, you would have just went under. Do you know what I mean? That's how real it was. But how we managed to get promoted is beyond me, and it's one of the greatest achievements in my football career just because of the situation.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, and it's good as well just to hear like you're passionate about the owners and stuff. And I don't think, well, obviously, I think it's hard as a footballer at the time to probably speak out on it because at the end of the day you are contracted to the club. But yeah, just to hear you're passionate about how it feels from a player in, that's really good. I think to hear from us as football fans. Yeah, with I guess with Tranmere now, you've returned to Merseyside, and then obviously this season got cut short, and Tranmere sadly they're relegated as a result of this. Like, what's obviously the owners have come out quite publicly and said they're disappointed and stuff. But what's your thoughts on the whole situation?
Yeah, deeply disappointed because obviously, as we all know, Tranmere have been promoted 2 seasons on a row, back-to-back promotions from the conference up. So obviously, when you're going up the leagues, it's always going to be tough, no matter what you, especially from League Two to League One. There is a difference because, like I say, even just the loan moves, you get big clubs sending their players to League One clubs, young players who are the top young players and stuff who are maybe on the verge and stuff. So it's a big jump and. Obviously, within that jump, it was always going to take Tranmere a little bit of time to adjust and stuff. And obviously, just before everything happened, we were finding our feet. The chairman had invested in January to bring in players. Before the lockdown, we'd won 4 on the bounce. We were the most informed team within the league, and we were only 2 points behind or 3 points behind Wimbledon with a game in hand as well. So we were going into the last 9 games, the top form team in the league, and obviously a game in hand on the people that were above us that weren't in great form. You'd like to think on form alone that we had a good chance of not just staying up, but even getting a lot higher up the league. But then to just end the season, say, you guys are relegated, we could understand with the other teams because they were like 12 points adrift and realistically it was showing the form wasn't great, stuff like that. But I thought the EFL have to sort of look into the circumstances because they're going to have the playoffs now with teams that literally finished maybe 15 points away from top of the league, and they're going to get the chance to take our place when we, in actual fact, we're only 3 points behind with a game in hand and on great form. Do you know what I mean? So weird, but that's
one.
But I'm sure, like you said, our owners are very, very good owners, and I'm sure that they won't go down without a fight. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully, just whatever happens is for the best interest of the club.
Yeah, no, definitely. And well, I think Wickham in League One, or like the playoffs as well, because it's done on points per game, how they're sorting out the playoffs. Like someone in 7th, I can't, sorry off the top of my head, but I'm sure someone in 7th actually got into the playoffs because of their points per game. And I don't get it. And as you said, you're in form and stuff. If they're doing playoffs for the top teams, I know there's not normally playoffs, but if you're so close, you should be.
Exactly.
There should possibly have been a playoff, maybe, I don't know, or some way. There could have been a better way to do it, I think.
100%.
I guess some precedented times, they just.
That's it.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, I don't think like it's obviously it's hard to take, but like you just said there, there's no easy way for anyone. It's not easy decision for the EFL. It's not easy to take. It's one of them things. It's never happened before, and I think you sometimes in life you just got to think, well, do you know what? This is just what it is, and that's it. You just get on with it. Let's say take the positives, move on, and that's it.
Yeah, are you still playing for Tranmere next season, or whenever the season starts, or is it still not discussed?
It's still not discussed yet. Obviously, there's a lot of players out of contract and stuff. I'd like to think I'd love to re-sign again and stuff. So I can only wait and see now. Obviously the club is waiting for the EFL to put out the plans for when obviously the next season's going to start, because there's not even any dates for the new season of starting. So obviously it's hard for the clubs to sort of offer contracts out and when they haven't even got a start date. So it's understandable, do you know what I mean? If Tranmere want me to re-sign again, then I'll happily re-sign him. I think it's a great club that's going in the right direction. Good owners, and genuinely really good owners. And the biggest thing for me is that they're not just involved in the football club, they're involved in so much stuff within the community around Tranmere. And like I say, local, helping the homeless, all through the pandemic, getting food dropped off to old people and, do you know what I mean, vulnerable people and stuff like that. So it's a club that when you play there, you can actually say the morals of the club are all solid, and that's a big thing.
Is it a furlough situation down kind of like in League Two right now?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's any clubs that could survive without it. Do you know what I mean? You know what it's like. Even when the season is actually going on, it's hard enough for the clubs in these lower leagues. So this could have killed off all the, like 60-70% of the clubs if there wasn't no furlough.
Yeah, definitely. And wow, yeah, obviously you're very proud to play for Tranmere, but I guess also as well proud to play for Guyana internationally. How did that come about? Like, when do you remember the first moment getting spoken about being involved with them?
Yeah, I'd actually spoke to them way before I ever ended up playing for them, and that was just being told sort of thing that they were interested in stuff, and then there was a lot of stuff going on within the federation at Guyana, so the actual nation stopped playing football for about 3 years. So obviously I would have went 3 years earlier if they would have been football playing, but it ended up I didn't go till I think I was 30. I remember getting a call from one of my friends who I'd met, and he was the captain of Guyana, and he basically obviously found out that I had Guyanese heritage and asked me would I be interested, and I was like 100% yeah, because my grandfather's from Guyana, and I never got to meet my grandfather because he passed away when my dad was young. So I didn't have too much knowledge or history about like where I was from, where my granddad was from. I literally didn't have any sort of knowledge because, like I say, he passed away when my dad was really young. So it wasn't something that we ever really spoke about, do you know what I mean? Being honest, I didn't have any idea what Guyana was like. But I wanted to know, and I wanted to sort of be able to go and explore that side of me, of where I'm from and stuff. And then I obviously went over there, and one of the best things I've ever done in my career.
Yeah, there was a lad that I had on a Spurs podcast. I do, Sam Cox. You'll know him.
Coxie, yeah, that's my good friend.
Yeah, he has a really. I see a lot of similarities between you and him. Like he started off at Spurs and he's now a coach there, and obviously you're doing your coaching stuff at Liverpool now. And he told quite a funny story about when he first kind of entered the camp, and he said that it was kind of like because a lot of sort of British lads like yourself have been recruited to play for Guyana, but there's like the group of the Guyana-based professionals as well, and apparently it's a bit of a earning your stripes sort of sort of situation when you first arrived there, and a bit of teeth kissing and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And knowing what I know now, we probably thought that was like disrespect, but that's the same as us just shaking our head. You know what I mean? It is what they are, and Coxie's a great guy. He's been my roommate for the last 5 years. Do you know what I mean? He's a top lad. I've got so much time for him and stuff. But no, when I first went there, it was madness, to be honest with you. I think I arrived at like 3 o'clock in the morning, got picked up, and then I got taken to a place where the team wasn't first. So I got put in a hostel, and it was like the bed sheets were there. Like it was like I'm not nowhere to belie. I've never seen nothing like that, and I just thought, what have I got myself involved in here? And then I had to get one of my towels out my suitcase and just lie them across the bed. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to get in the sheets and stuff like that. And then the next day they took me then to the team hotel, which wasn't as bad then. Do you know what I mean? It was okay and stuff. But no, just even to see the progress when I look back from when I first went to now, it's completely different. Like the whole setup is just run completely different. And once again, like I say, it's one of them things that I look back and think, wow, I was there when it was that. And then to be on the other end of the spectrum and score 3 goals at the Gold Cup, to see the journey again is just this the sort of stuff that gives me so much satisfaction from my career. Because a lot of people, when they get to my age, they start getting bitter about the game and oh, I never got this chance, and oh, like if I would have stayed or if I would have done this, and I just think, like, what are you thinking? Like, the game's giving you so many memories, so much of a good life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been fortunate enough to be able to provide for my kids. Well, my kids are happy, all from the game of football. Do you know what I mean? So how can I ever get bitter at it? I'm just gonna keep loving the game, and I will till the last kick of a ball that I can ever make on a pitch. I'll love it because it's given me an opportunity that, in reality, I was from Toxteth in Liverpool, living in a council house with my family. Loved every minute of living in a council house. Loved my childhood. But football gave me another opportunity and another play. I've explored the whole world, like, literally. So I'm thankful.
Yeah, definitely. And well, you spoke a bit about your plans with coaching. Is it you're looking to get the top job at a club, maybe like main manager in the future?
Do you know what? It's never been something I've ever thought about. It's never really. But as I'm getting older now, the way I work as a person is that everything's just organic. So I know a lot of people that go, oh, I'm going to be a manager. I'm going to be a manager. And that's what the thing is. My thought is, I'm going to dip my foot into coaching. I don't know if I'm going to be good at it. Do you know what I mean? And one of the first things I am is I'm real. Do you know what I mean? So if I go in and I think, no, I couldn't handle being a manager, then I won't be a manager. But if I go in and think, you know what, I think I could do this, then I'll give it a go. And one thing I will do is, as I've always done in everything I've ever done, is I'll just give it me all, and wherever it gets me, and it's all experience in it. Just like, you probably hear from the way I talk now. For me, life's just about experiences and giving it your 100%. And what will be. As long as you've got the best intentions of working hard, being genuine in what you do, then even if it doesn't work out, you can still look at yourself and still think, well, you know what, that's just what it is. There was someone better than me. There was someone who had more talent than me. There's no big deal about that. Do you know what I mean? There's someone better than everyone out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And well, you've had a great career as well. And just briefly, future plans. I see you like to dabble a bit in music as well. Any future in that as well?
Yeah, 100%. I've been doing music engineering and music production course for the last 4 years. As you'll know from past days, I've always been involved in, loved music, but I've never ever really took it serious. And then the last 4 years, it's just because I had loads of time on my hands after training, I started taking it a bit more serious. Started going to night school and stuff like that. Ended up producing a track for a girl from America. She's had like a million views on one of her videos and stuff like that. And then I just worked with another girl now from the US, just done a remix sort of thing, which I'm going to release in hopefully the next month or two. I'll obviously put it on social media, but I went on Insta Live yesterday and just showed everyone like the track and stuff, and got really good reviews. I don't want to be an artist. I'm not singing on it. I'm not doing anything like that. It's just production and stuff like that. But obviously I've released stuff where I'm singing on it, but I won't do that just to show people that I'm actually doing music. But it's not to be an artist. I'm not the best singer, but people can see the music behind and stuff like that. And like I say, you'll see more. I've always been one of them. I've been working in the background for 4 years hard and throwing little pieces of progression out there, but nothing real serious or anything. But I'm sort of at a level now where I'm confident in what I'm doing. So I think with the next release, it's probably one that I'm just so happy. Like, it's got none of my voice on. I've mixed all the track, did all the beats and stuff, and it's something that I can put on the radio, and hopefully no one would ever know it's me. Do you know what I mean? So that's the good thing, is that I've got a lady vocalist who features on the track. So it could be a song, and then it'll either get liked for it just being a good song, or it won't be. And like I say, that's it. I don't like loads of music that I've sold millions and millions of copies. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's just preference. Like, who cares? Life's not that serious. If you enjoy doing it, just do it.
Nah, definitely. And like, well, we're gonna end it off there. And honestly, Neil, it's been great speaking to you. Your personality on this has been great the whole time. Like, to hear all your stories as well. And hopefully you end up somewhere big if you do get into that managerial game. Sim, do you have anything else to say? Oh, Palace, yes, obviously, mate, yes.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. I see you being a manager / producer of music in the future, definitely. But just your whole outlook on life, your experiences in the game. You've not had a bad word to say about anything, even the more kind of the saddest sort of things that we've touched on. You've always had a bit of perspective on it, and it's been a pleasure. So really
brilliant. So you know what? Like I said, it's been refreshing, and for a Sunday morning, tell you what, it's a good day. It's a good day to be alive, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, definitely, man. And honestly, cheers. Just to everyone who does listen to this is #DrinkItIn_pod. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we will see you later.